Hello. So I think the future in AI development lies somewhere in AI first development, which is basically boils down to you have AI do everything for you and you just check, you just feed it stories and verify the output. That way all aspects that are normally done by humans are now done by AI. So you're basically managing a bunch of AI developers. So to get started, we start with stories. Stories are the source of truth for your application. In a lot of development teams I've worked at, domain knowledge lived inside the heads of developers and project managers. There was not a single source of truth. We either had some knowledge in that person and some in that person. Some people already left the company. So the code was kind of the source of truth. You cannot rewrite the application without breaking a lot of things because you don't know if something is a bug or something is a feature. There's just very little documentation, and meetings are usually verbally done. So you also don't have a paper trail of the meetings. So even if you know how something works, which is not given, you still don't know why it works that way. So you can only look at the system, analyze it, but you don't know why it works that way, just that it does. You don't know if it's intentional, you don't know if it's important, so that's why stories are important. So, a story is a set of requirements, a set of features in human readable form. It doesn't contain technical details unless these technical details are relevant for the business. A story doesn't need to be complete, it just needs to be complete enough to cover the business needs. So, for example, let's say we have a to-do application. Story would be something like the user can see his own to-do items. He can modify, create, and delete his own to-do items. So that's a small story, not a very big one, but it covers the business needs. If your business is creating a to-do app, I hope it isn't. For more complex applications, you want more detailed stories. Everything that's important to the business, you put in a story. And a story is usually based on meetings with the client. So the client describes what they want and you write it down. So the story is for human consumption. A product manager or a product owner can read and understand the story, because it has no technical details. It can contain technical details if it's relevant for the business. Like if the business needs to communicate with an API or it wants to use certain technologies, you put that in the story. But you're not putting fragments of code and you're not deciding on any technical details that are not yet relevant. The design can also be part of the story, but AI is not very good at handling design at this moment. So you can put it in there, but don't expect pixel perfect matches. If you need to alter a story, you create a new story. You describe the desired new features or the desired changes. If the new story is different from the old story, you should have an agent or AI figure out the differences. Basically, the new stories are overriding the old ones, and you can use AI to let you know and discuss them if needed. Maybe some new story contradicts an old one unintentionally, and you can take that back to the product manager or owner that requested the change. For verifying stories, we introduce our first agent. This agent parses the new story and compares them to previous stories. And it will summarize the differences and let you know if there's any contradictions or anything unclear. You can act upon that feedback, improve your stories, or have AI improve your stories. Once you've decided on the final shape of your new story, it's time for the next step. Based on the story, you can create one or multiple plans, or you can even take multiple stories and create multiple plans, or take multiple stories and create a single plan. If you've ever worked with Cloud Code before, plans are familiar to you, but usually you would just type in like blah blah blah. So based on stories, one or more stories, we create one or more plans. Depending on the state of the project, the plan includes technical decisions. If it's a new project, it can even include what language to use, like what programming language, what database, how to structure the files, all that kind of stuff. If it's an existing project, it will more likely include reference to files to modify. And an approach for testing, maybe you should include an approach for testing. And that's included in the plan. So the plan will be a contained document including everything something needs to know to execute the plan to implement the stories it's referencing. So the plan will be executed by an AI agent or a human for some reason, but usually an AI agent. And the plan should contain everything it needs to do its job. So it contains the desired features, so basically a copy of the story, but it might not include the reasoning for the story. So like the story can include reasoning why certain features are the way they are, and a plan doesn't need that. A plan only needs to know what needs to be changed and not why it needs to be changed. And the plan includes technical details on how it's going to be changed. Plans are written by AI and are meant to be as big as your AI agent can handle them. So if the desired change is really big, you might want to split it up into multiple smaller plans. Just as long as the AI can implement them and you can verify the results, because at some point you need to verify the result, like the changes the AI has made. You have to review the code. So plans are created by an AI agent, and it does so based on the stories, your feedback, but mostly the stories, and existing code. So it has read access to everything, but it can only write plans. It's not allowed to touch any code. This process will likely take a few minutes. Once it is done, you should review the plan, but you can skip it. You can ask AI to review it or ask AI to summarize it or not. You can just let it implement it and see the result for yourself later. So when your plan is ready and you've reviewed it, it's time for implementing the plan. So for this, you want to start a new agent. You can run a new class process or tell Claude to run an agent or whatever tool you're using, and you point it to the plan. You basically tell it, well, here's a plan, implement it. And in an ideal world, you have that plan execute in a container, in a work tree. And a work tree is basically a branch you check out in your Git repo, and it physically exists on your disk at some other place. And that way that AI agent can work and implement the plan, it can run the test, it can modify code, and it can do all kinds of stuff. Even run application without interfering with anything else. And you want that because while the agent is running, you're not going to sit idle, you're going to focus on the next plan or the next story or something else entirely. Maybe you're going to grab a coffee, but you should aim for parallel development. So where you have multiple AI agents work on the project at the same time. And that's only possible if you properly containerize each application and give the agent its own container to run in. If you manage to have the agent develop in a container, you're basically only limited by the speed you can write and review the plans, and obviously system resources, but hey, just get more systems. You can also have AI write the stories for you. So not the plans, the stories. And if you decide to do that, which is totally fine, you should do so interactively with an AI session. So you basically tell it, we're going to write a story and you have to describe what the story is. You can also use existing plugins for that. There is a plugin called Superpowers, and there it's called brainstorming. So you have a brainstorming step, which is basically write the story. It will ask you a bunch of questions, and then it will write a spec. And from that spec, it will write a plan, which the Superpowers plugin can also do. And then it will implement the plan, which can also be done with Superpowers, and it will follow a test-driven approach. So install the Superpowers plugin. It's great. Thank you for watching.